So please make sure if you have stuff to correct from previous days that you are fixing it. So we are going to keep building on all of this in the next few days. So you want to make sure that you're feeling good about regrouping when you're adding time, and then after today, regrouping when you are subtracting time. So if you have things to fix, make sure you're going back and doing that before you start something new. So we're going to look at the workbook pages from yesterday first. So again, this is kind of switching to where they have the hours first, but we're always going to do our minutes first. So we're going to go through number 1 here. So we're going to start with the 20 minutes, and then we're going to subtract the 15 minutes from here to be left with 5 minutes. And then we want to go back into our hours. 8 hours minus 7 hours leaves us with 1 hour to get 1 hour 5 minutes. So let's take a look at number 2. So again, we're going to start with our minutes. 35 minutes minus 15 minutes will leave us with 20 minutes. And then we need to do our hours. We have 4 hours minus 1 hour to be left with 3 hours, to then get a final answer of 3 hours 20 minutes. For number 3, again, start with your minutes. 55 minutes minus 30 to be left with 25 minutes. And then go back and subtract your hours. We have 3 hours minus 2 hours, which will leave us with 1 hour. So final answer of 1 hour 25 minutes. Alright, so let's get into the new stuff for today. So we are subtracting time with regrouping. So this is the next step. So Kyle bikes for 4 hours, 30 minutes. Joey bikes for 2 hours, 50 minutes. How much longer does Kyle bike than Joey? Now, here are the 2 times we are working with. So I wanted to write it like this so you can see like a traditional subtraction problem. So like I mentioned before, just like subtraction in general, we always have to put that larger number on top. So 4 hours and 30 minutes is a greater time than 2 hours and 50 minutes. So this goes on top. Now, the thing you have to make sure you don't get confused with is if you look at our minutes. Now, 50 minutes, if we're just looking at minutes, 50 minutes is greater than 30 minutes, but you have to look at the total time here. So this total time is greater than this total time. So that's why this one is going on top. But immediately you should see that we are running into a problem with our minutes, and that's where we get into what's new today. So we can't take 50 minutes away from 30 minutes. So this is going to be involving some regrouping. So we're going to take a look at the steps. So what they have you first immediately do is regroup that top number. So think about if it was just like regular subtraction, okay? We have to go to a greater place value in order to subtract. So we're going to go to a greater unit than minutes, which is the hours, to regroup. So for this one, we are going to take an hour away. So this is now going to become 3 hours. Now, if we think back to when we were exchanging all those different minutes and hours, you should know that if we're taking an hour is worth 60 minutes. So essentially what we're doing is we're going to take 60 minutes, which is that 1 hour that we are regrouping, and moving it into the minutes. Now we already have 30 minutes there, so that means we need to add these minutes together now to then have 90 minutes. So now this becomes 90 minutes. Now if we were to now do this the opposite, you would see that it's still the same value of time, it's just looking differently, so that way we can subtract. So we're going to do 90 minus 50, because now we can subtract this. This number is greater than the bottom number. So we're going to be left with 40 minutes. And then we can do 3 hours minus 2 hours to be left with 1 hour. So if you take a look, they explain it through these steps. So they regroup here, exactly what I just did. They're pulling out an hour and regrouping it over here, and then they subtract. So you have to keep in mind though, biggest things, greatest value of time goes on top, no matter if the minutes are smaller. Think of the total amount of time and put the greatest one on top, and then decide if you need to regroup. So let's do some practice here. So they already have it set up to where the greater number is the first, or greatest amount of time is the first one in the problem. But when we get to word problems, you are going to have to keep an eye out for that to identify that on your own and not get mixed up by putting something with greater minutes on top rather than the greatest amount of time. So here is our setup. And this is how I would like to see you do it when you're doing your assignments. So put it one on top of the other like you typically subtract, okay? Now what they're showing here is the regrouping, okay? So I'm going to show it in both spots. So we can't take 45 away from 20 minutes. So we need to regroup an hour. So we're going to take an hour from this 7 hours and we'll be left with 6 hours. Now if we're thinking about that hour is 60 minutes, but we can't forget about what's already there. We already have 20 minutes. So then we need to add these together to now have 80 minutes. And then we can subtract. So we regrouped to now have 6 hours, 80 minutes. So then we're ready for that final step. So we're going to do 80 minus 45. Now we can't take 5 away from 0, so we need to actually regroup when we're subtracting here. So then we will have 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 7 minus 4 is 3, so now we have 35 minutes, and then we can subtract our hours. 6 minus 4 gives us 2 hours. So then we have a final answer of 2 hours, 35 minutes. So we're going to do another one. So 4 hours, 30 minutes minus 2 hours, 45 minutes. So again, greatest amount of time is on top. And then you should be looking to subtract your minutes first. And we cannot do that, which then tells us we need to regroup. So we're going to take an hour away. We'll be left with 3 hours. And then that means we need to add 60 to these 30 minutes. So 60 plus 30 gives us 90 minutes. And then we can cross this out and subtract. Okay, so then we're doing 90 minus 45. So we regroup. That becomes an 8. This becomes 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 8 minus 4 is 4. And then we can subtract our hours. 3 hours minus 2 hours leaves us with 1 hour. So our final answer would be 1 hour, 45 minutes. And for number 4, so again, I'm going to say this a million times probably. Greatest time on top, no matter if the minutes are smaller, you're looking total time. So 8 hours and 35 minutes is greater than 4 hours and 50 minutes. So that's why it's going on top. Now we're going to regroup here. So we'll be left with 7 hours. And then we're doing 60 because we're regrouping here. So taking that 1 hour away means then we're moving that here. So we're moving an additional 60 minutes to be added to the minutes that are there. So 60 plus 35 gives us 95. So 5 minus 0 leaves us with 5, and then 9 minus 5 gives us 4. So again, we'll have 45 minutes left over. And then 7 hours minus 4 hours leaves us with 3 hours. So we got a final answer of 3 hours, 45 minutes. So this is slide 17. This is a great chart for you to have up while you are doing your work today, whether it's on when you're doing your workbook or doing the work on Classkick. So it's a couple of reminders of putting that larger amount of time on top, then regrouping, and then subtracting minutes followed by the hours. So make sure you use that to help you. So today you are doing slide 18. So for numbers 5 through 8, I'm going to show you number 5 so you know what you're doing. So 5 through 8, you are just regrouping like what we are practicing. So if you take a look, remember when that equal sign is there, you want to read it across all the way like a sentence. Don't stop when you get to that equal sign. So 3 hours 20 minutes equals 2 hours blank minutes. So what they're showing us is that both sides of this equation are equal to each other. So we need to think, how are we going to make 3 hours and 20 minutes equal to something that only has 2 hours? And that is through regrouping that we've been practicing. So taking that hour away to then be left with 2 hours, and then adding that hour in minutes to the minutes we already have. So adding 60 to the 20 minutes that we already have to have 80 minutes. So these times are equal to each other. Okay, so that's all you're doing on 5 through 8. Then 9 through 14. Please make sure that you are setting up your times one on top of each other and show me your work just like I was doing for your examples on slide 16, and it will still be there for you to go back to and look at. Raise your hand on this slide once you finish, and then you are doing workbook page 154. Don't forget to take a picture of that workbook page once you're done and upload it to Seesaw and upload it to Seesaw and put it in your math folder. Good luck, and let me know if you need help.